I'm your host, Chris Eaton. And
I'm
as
Arian.
always is,
It's Arian again.
stepped over you there, man. Well, also to be fair, I fumbled the ball on that one too. I did my I'm like, we are your host, and that's the one I do with Jessica. So
Who? Just kidding.
exactly. So
Okay, buddy.
on this blissful winter night, we're in Southern California. We have a blizzard warning going on.
It is
Like
a
there's
very
snow.
it is a
There's
very
snow.
cold night
There's
in
snow in
Southern
areas
California.
that normally don't. We had a water spout off Seal Beach today, and I missed it.
I'm sorry.
I know. But today, this is the movie. So for those of you listening, when Arian pitched me doing this show, there was one movie like he was trying to define what this show is going to be, and I had one in my head already. I knew exactly what the show was going to be, and it just took a minute for me to guide poor Arian into the direction of the movie that essentially defines what this show really is. Today's episode, we are talking about the seldom seen but utter masterpiece that is The Seventh Curse. And
Yes, we are.
it brings me no utter amount of joy. It brings like the fact that I have turned a man who you proclaim yourself a pretty solid horror fan, do you not?
I do.
And the fact that you hadn't heard of this movie until I showed you the trailer a couple weeks ago. When
Yeah.
we were going around, we were like, what are we going to do for the next few episodes so we can get a head start on this? And then we're pitching some ideas. Let's do this or that. And you hit me and were like, well, let's move out of Japan for a minute. We've been in Japan for the first 3 episodes. Let's go somewhere else. I'm like, well, we just got to go across the water to Hong Kong. So Hong Kong, they make delightful trash. They make trash.
Whoa. Trash? No. Nobody.
I say no. Well, look, people will look at some of these movies as trash cinema. I look at them as masterpieces.
Absolutely.
This is pure cinema.
Absolutely.
There's a great interview with a young, spry Martin Scorsese, like at the height of his power. This is mid 80s. So, we got Raging Bull. We got all the stuff that he's a taxi driver. And he's talking to David Letterman. And Letterman asked him, it's like, oh, what have you seen this year that you really loved? And he brought up Scanners. He absolutely loves Scanners.
Really?
The David Cronenberg, he was like, this movie's fantastic. This is what cinema is. This is what you want out of this stuff. And this is exactly like when I know very few things in life, but I know movies. And when I get there's a joy and a kick when I recommend something to somebody who's never seen it, and they come back at me, it's like, my God. So that's because because I asked a couple of days ago, I asked him, did you watch it? And he just gave me a simple, oh yeah. And I'm like, all right, we save it for the show. So couple of things going into this dissection and this dissertation of this masterpiece. There are several versions of this movie out there. So 88 Films in the UK just recently released a director's cut because in various markets this movie's gotten chopped up in different ways. There's from what I've seen, the scenes are all there. Like if you get like certain DVDs, they're there, but they're like either out of order or dubbed over, or in some cases the credits go right over them. But we are watching what would be the standard version that made its way over here to America, and that is it's about 89 minutes. This is not a long movie. And my God, does it move at a breakneck pace? So that's one. That's one thing. The second thing is I've seen this movie about 4 or 5 times. I've only ever seen the Cantonese version from Hong Kong in its original language. That's how I first came across it. there was a DVD release years ago that one of those like back. Do you remember back in the early 2000s when there was like a ton of like little DVD companies, Arian? They were just
Yeah.
releasing these weird niche films because they were like they bought the library to something. So I forgot the name of the company, but they would release like Hong Kong films, like dirt cheap. Like you could get them for like $10 back when DVDs were still like 20, $30. And I had been introduced to this film. I found a copy at Amoeba Records, took it home, fell in love with it. That version only had the Cantonese version on it. So that version was stolen from me by someone who I don't talk to anymore. So I picked up another copy about a year and a half ago because I'm like, I didn't realize I didn't have to sit down. So this DVD copy, when I went back to sit down and take notes, had something on it I had no idea existed. And that is an English dub. I popped this thing in and it said audio options. I'm like, what do you mean audio options? And I go and it says English dub. I'm like, you're kidding me. I had zero clue there was a dub for this damn thing. I turn it on, and in the first 5 minutes, the dialogue for this thing is what it was masterful in a showgirls-esque way. And that is the copy, that is the version we will be reviewing today because inadvertently, that is the copy that Arian watched without me even knowing it. I thought he watched the sub version, but it turns out no. And now I understand his complete bewilderment to this movie I just showed him because the dub just cranks the insanity up another like 11-fold. This movie is already pretty nutty to begin with, but when you're watching it with it outside of a bad Hong Kong dub, because clearly this was dubbed in Hong Kong. The second they thought, like, I recognize the voice actors. Like, I'm like, if you watched, like, late era Godzilla movies to early 90s, if you watched, like, Jackie Chan movies that were brought over here at the beginning of his boom, all that stuff. Because can I set the stage for this real quick, Arian?
Yeah, go ahead.
For those who don't know. So, up until, I believe it was 98, Hong Kong was a British colony. So there's a lot of Brits living there. And English became one of the main languages there. So because of the English audience, they would put English subtitles, hard subtitles in movies so that the English-speaking residents could understand what was going on. And then a lot of film distributors realized there's a market for these movies, so they would have actors in Hong Kong dub them, and then they just import them out. So it was a big practice. That is where you get a lot of people making fun of, like when you hear kung fu movies and they're speaking and like the mouths don't move. It's insane dialogue. That's mostly because the Cantonese language is so fast. It's such, use the word intricate compared to English, that it's hard to fill in some of those gaps. So you have to be clever with what you're saying. That's why some characters sound very odd and very off-putting at times. You're like, why are they talking like that? It's because they're trying to get the dialogue in the amount of, the frame time that they have and make it make sense. Sometimes it works.
Try to make it sense.
A lot of times it doesn't, and that creates almost like you can have a very serious movie, but the dub could turn it into a comedy. I mean, shit, 10 years ago, one of my favorite comedies of all time, Kung Pao. That was literally what that movie was making fun of. I love Kung Pao. I love that movie. It's the dumbest movie on the face of the planet, and it just tickles. It tickles the 12-year-old mentality in my head. But that's for another day, another time. So now that we've set the stage, let's get into the Seventh Curse. And since Arian watched it for the first time, I'm going to allow him to lead the charge, and I'll be stepping in with some stuff here and there.
All right, buddy. Here we go.
All right.
So, off the bat, this is a Golden Harvest film. Golden Harvest are, you'll know them by the Ninja Turtles, the first 3 Ninja Turtle movies. They did Rumble in the Bronx. They were, how do I put this? If Golden Era is Shaw Brothers, then 80s, 90s, early 2000s would be Golden Harvest. And in
Mm-hmm.
these movies, everybody, and I mean everybody knows Kung Fu. I'm talking to the
Mm-hmm.
school teacher, to the cab driver, to the nurse. Everybody knows Kung Fu. Just so you know what kind of movie we're getting into.
Yes.
There are movies that have a deeper meaning. There are movies, that take the fun out of things, like A24 movies. And then
Mm-hmm.
there are movies that this is everything you see is what they mean. This
Mm-hmm.
movie doesn't mess around
It's
from the
earnest.
beginning. It is,
It's earnest.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
How do I put this? You get what you pay for when you're watching a movie called Seventh Curse. All right, let's start the movie. Straight off the bat, it is the opening to the movie The Raid. You got half the police force trying to infiltrate a apartment building. It looks like
Mm-hmm.
there's a terrorist activity going on. They have hostages, and the police are trying to get in this building. Terrorists yell out, "Hey, this guy has hold on." First, they're communicating with somebody. There's 5 terrorists, including one sharpshooter. Correct?
Yes.
In the middle of speaking to the negotiator, guy gets a headshot right through his forehead. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how the movie starts.
Yes.
So you're like, what is going on? This is immediately catching your attention. You're like, stop what you're doing. This is not a movie to be playing around on your phone with.
Nope.
You need to be watching this movie.
Nope.
All right. Then they're like, okay, great. The cops come up with this idea. They're gonna bring in this guy who is one of the bravest men in Hong Kong, and the cops' plan is to plant a bomb inside of the terrorists' hideout.
By the way, the entire time there's some music that's playing in the background that feels like it came out of an early Carpenter film.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's that.
It's
synth that do 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 do.
It is beautiful. Okay,
Mhm.
so you meet our main character, who his name is
Well,
in this dub. His name is
his name is
Chester.
Chester.
His name
We call
is
him Chester. Chester, the most American name for the most Asian guy that you'll ever meet.
The guy looks like he goes to UCLA, man. He's got a slick back hair. He's got glasses. He looks really, he's got this whole, cool aesthetic going on. He looks like a normal guy. Sure enough, he walks in there. He walks in there with a nurse.
The nurse,
Okay.
who, by the way, is she's some up and coming reporter, by the way.
Yeah, this reporter grabs a brick, beats the crap out of this nurse, sorry, and sneaks away behind Chester.
Mhm.
Sure enough, Chester gets right, with an eyesight distance. The terrorists shoot off the rounds. Chester doesn't move 1 inch. He walks in there. You're like, whoa, this guy's a badass.
Yeah.
This is like some Don Fry level badassery.
Mhm.
He walks in. He quote unquote attends to the guy who just had a heart attack. Flips over his medicine case or whatever. Turns out it's a bomb. It's a flash grenade. Kung Fu ensues.
Well, hold on.
Well,
Let's clarify. The reason why they get him to go in there because he is a super badass, but he's also a doctor.
True.
He's posing as a doctor because they said one of the hostages, because of the gunshot to their sniper, gave one of their hostages a heart attack, and now this is on them. So they negotiate to send in a doctor and a nurse to take care of the guy, the terrorists not knowing this is a ruse.
Okay, so so Kung Fu ensues between
Yes.
Chester and the terrorists.
Just starts, by the way, not even waiting for the plan to go into action, just comes in there and then just starts beating the shit out of this guy. Just not like full on Jet Li style. And guys are flying all over the place. Like they're going it's that perfect example of like when you kick a guy so hard he goes through like a wall. He's going through a bunch of pre-stacked crates that are somehow there because they're in some sort. They're in a warehouse of some sort. You just don't know what the hell they're doing.
So cops come in and try to come in because as soon as the first cop shows up, boom, headshot, falls off the side of the building. Oh crap! And then more cops come in. Eventually, subdue the terrorists, and our hero gets away.
Yep.
Hero gets approached by the nurse, finds out that nurse is actually a reporter. Nurse follows the guy around. Chester gets into his sports car and drives off.
Again,
I wish I could tell you this is made up, but it's not.
It's every dude fantasy. Like, this is every dude's fantasy. Like, just to go in as a one-man army, beat the crap out of some terrorists, and then drive away in like your hot rod. Like, just
exactly.
not. By the way, not a scratch on him.
No.
Like, kept it cool, kept not exactly being stoic, but just kind of like, yeah, I know I'm a badass. I know what I just did. And just, like,
what?
You ever need me again, Captain? It's almost like he's Batman. Like, he tells the captain, you ever need me again? You know where to find me.
So, nurse chases after him in her sports car, right? And catches up to Chester. They meet at a red light. Nurse Turtles. I'm sorry. What's the nurse's name? She has a name.
She had her. Was it Susie? Suze? Oh man, I should have taken down the names of all their wonky Hong Kong.
It's not Betsy. No.
Betsy.
Is it Betsy? No,
again,
is it?
Yes, it's Betsy.
Okay.
It's Betsy. Again, the whitest name for the most Asian girl.
Okay. So Betsy catches up to Chester at a red light. Chester gets off his car, grabs a hose.
Yes.
Attaches it to his muffler, and then places the rest of the hose underneath Betsy's car. Revs up the engine, and not sure how cars work, but absorbs the air to the hose and lifts Betsy's car up.
I've always had questions about this. It looks like this is some sort of jack system that if you need to change your tire, like, you inflate this thing so it'll go up and you pull it out. By the way, the most pollution inducing jack. It's actually quite brilliant in its own way, because it's like it looks like it's just this big kind of vinyl bag. And as long as it's hooked into the exhaust, like, it's inflated and gets the car off the ground enough to where you can change the tire. I am 99% sure that's what that thing is. There's brilliant idea. No way in hell it would ever fly over here just because of standards and regulations. But there's a part of me that's like, that's bold and genius. My God. But just don't put your nose near it when you air it out, otherwise you're gonna get asphyxiated.
Right. So Chester drives off, and cut to next scene. You see him full dressed up to the tens. This guy is, he's in a full tuxedo. He's at a party. I don't know what time it is. I don't know how you go from hostage negotiation to party on the same night. There's a pool party. He's whining, he's dining, he's talking to everybody, and then sure enough, Betsy catches up to him. And
as he's trying to pick up on some chick, by the way, like, he's putting the moves on this girl, and she completely cock blocks him.
Right. So at this point, he leaves. Chester goes to his house, notices that the door's open. He's confused. He's a little interesting, and then he goes further into his house. He has a weapon it looks like a weapon. Could have been. I don't know what it was.
It's like an art piece he was using as like a club.
He peeks over and sees a naked woman dressing herself behind some blinds, like some curtain blinds. Sneaks up behind her and scares her and says, "How did you get in here?" "I have no idea what this lady's name is." She says, "I gave the maid $1,000 to give the night off, and it's just going to be you and me tonight." And she lays herself across Chester's bed, and right before it gets to business, Chester is attacked once again by a man that knows kung fu. Breaks into his house.
By the way, hold on. We got to set up this house. This is not a house.
Oh my God.
This is a hacienda.
This
looks like something El Chapo would own. Like, it's got like an indoor, like river, like a little.
It's got a moat, right?
It's got a moat that's got like this rock formation in it. It's multi-layer, it's multi-tiered, like it's like up on like risers and stuff. This dude has like expensive art from like around the world decked out. Like this dude has money. Like he's got like F me money. He's got some serious money, and he's a man of fine taste by the way we can look. But you look at this house, you're like, my God, this house has to exist because everything looks like it was shot for the most part like on location, except for the obvious things we'll get to in a little bit.
So
but,
you know what the place reminds me of? Remember back in the day, you would see Penthouse magazines?
Yes.
That's exactly what this place reminds me of.
You're spot on. This looks like something that would be up in the Hollywood Hills that was built in the 50s, and this is what everyone thought class was back in the day. Now, by the way, I'm not denying it's a classy house. Like this is an awesome house. I'm like, this exists in Hong Kong somewhere. I'm like this is like again, you got money. Like you're throwing down and it's a house of a single man who's clearly got some lady friends coming over. And which is what leads to this whole situation until this mysterious dude breaks in and starts beating the crap out of him. They doesn't say a word, by the way. Yeah, Nothing. They just start fighting.
No reason, just fighting. This guy gets the upper hand on him, and he goes. Mm-hmm. He has them. Anyway, they bring some stuff in the guy's house. What's the weapon the guy uses? It's like a stick with a knife, not a bayonet, not a tomahawk.
I don't know the Chinese name up. There is a name for it. I know what you're talking about.
They're gonna find that the intruder gets the upper hand on Chester and says, "You have to come back to Thailand. My name is Dragon. Your blood curse is about to expire or something."
Yes.
And he goes, like, "What are you talking about?" And Chester he pretends he doesn't know what he's talking about, but of course he does. Mm-hmm. This movie's called Seventh Curse. And he backs off and he goes. He looks over to the dragon guy. Looks over to this lady friend and says, "Don't have sex. You might relapse. Might relapse," and just disappears into the night.
Again, like he tells him, lays it out. Your blood curse is coming up. It's coming up to a year, so your blood curse is coming back. And then meet me in Thailand in 3 days. And then finally, as he's walking out, this apropos of nothing, looks, oh yeah. Don't have sex because it might cause you to relapse. Like literally, like no, I'm like you're like what? What? How? What
the same breath.
What person ends a conversation like that? This man does, and he introduces himself as his Hong Kong. The dub name is simply what is it?
It's Dragon.
Dragon.
This dude looks like Rambo mixed with Nighthawk from Mortal Kombat.
Yep, and at the Chester during the fight, like claws like his gi. He's wearing like a gi,
right?
And he's got like all these badass tattoos on his back. And he's like, oh, so you are who you say. It's like he recognizes it, but that gives us no indication of what's going on. So
sure enough, Chester doesn't listen to this guy. No, absolutely not. He gets right to town. He goes right into it with his lady friend, and as soon as they get busy. They cut to Chester's legs, and what do you see on Chester's legs, Chris?
The veins start bulging on his legs. And
what do they remind you of? Yeah.
They start bulging like. I mean, you see this effect. It's clearly a bladder effect. I don't know exactly what you're referencing, but it's been like you see it a dozen times. But the top of his thigh, where it meets his knee, starts pulsing like he's got the worst Charlie horse on the face of the planet, and he grabs it like in agony, and you just see the veins in his legs are all like frozen up, like he's been doing squats for like the last 72 hours.
His veins explode, and that's what the blood curse is. It's like a squib effect, and it blows. It goes, oh my God.
It's not egregious. Like it's not like this gory like. It's just like a pop. And you're like like he's like, and that's the point when he realizes, oh crap.
I have to deal with this.
Yes.
So then again, smash cut, next scene.
Mm.
He's at somebody's house and he's telling him about the blood curse. Turns around,
Oh, no,
who is
well,
it? Whoa, did I miss something?
Oh no, well, we got to set the stage for who this person is.
Oh, right.
Because, well, first off, like, you're right. Smash cut. There's no such thing as transitions in this movie. Like, they are to the point. This is cut and shoot. And we're introduced to none other than the great Chow Yun-fat, who, by the way, in this movie, I mean, look, he's like 33, 34 here, but he looks like he's in his late 40s already. And we find out he's a colleague of Chester's, and he's his old professor. So these are both men of education, and he's chomping on this pipe the whole time. Chester's telling us, like, yeah, my leg blew up last night. He's like, yes, it sounds like you're under a blood curse. Like, just like the calm, like there's no worry, no nothing on his like anywhere on his face. Now, to set the stage, this guy he's Dr. Wisely. I think they kept the name in the movie too because it's an Anglo sounding name. Now, Wisely is a character. So, we'll save that for afterwards. So Wisely's an important character in this movie. We'll just put it that way, and this will play into our explanation later. But it's just a young fat going, like he's just puffing on this pipe, like it's an old wooden pipe, and it's like the most professor thing that you would see in the 80s. It's just like, yeah, sounds like a blood curse. Like it's just very very mild, like not there's no worry in the sound of his voice at all.
Very confident. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He's not only a professor, but he is also a master at witchcraft or the education of witchcraft.
He's the leading expert on witchcraft.
Exactly. And then at this point in the movie, we get this turns into the flashback sequence of the semi-origin story of this whole blood curse.
Well, because
you find out.
Wisely's like, you're not telling me the whole story here, Chester. So why don't you really tell me what happened? Like he's like, I know you know. Like, why are you BSing me? Like, come on, let's get down to brass tacks here. So go on.
So then we find out that Chester was in Thailand. Southeast Asia, looking for He was looking for herbs to find the cure to AIDS. AIDS, that AIDS.
Yes.
He's on this expedition.
So.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my God. I know. This is why I love this dub so much. I'm 99% sure that is not what he was doing in the Cantonese dub. He was on an expedition. They were looking for some. And by the way, the expedition is one old white dude who looks like every professor that would be in one of these movies, and then the rest are other like Hong Kong actors. So continue.
So there's they have a little powwow, and then they hear some drumming in the back, and the professor tells Chester, "You hear that? That is the Worm Tribe, and they are preparing a blood ritual. But whatever you do not witness the blood ritual." And then Chester, he gives them the old okie dokie.
Yeah.
Cut to maybe a couple hours later, the second day. Yeah.
Yeah. He goes wandering.
He wanders off. He stands by a stream of water. It looks like a lake, and he sees this woman jump out of the water. This tan, black-haired woman, who we find out her name is Baju. Chester's looking at her through his binoculars. He freaks out, drops his binoculars. This woman is wearing a see-through white shirt, and she's wet, so there's not a lot left to the imagination. You see everything.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. He approaches Baju she tries to fix his binoculars, but she hears some drumming. She hears some noise at the back, and she tells Chester, "I have to go."
Mhm.
So
Yep.
she runs off. Uh, Chester goes after her, and then we are introduced to the Worm Clan. The Worm Clan looks like a bunch of foot
Mhm.
soldiers from Ninja Turtles, and then this Jimmy
Yep.
Snuka looking dude. He looks like he looks like
And and it looks they look like they're at the temple of Thusla Doom from Conan.
yes.
Like it is looks like almost like right out like they're in this like it's this gigantic all these dudes that look yes they all look like the foot when they're training when Tatsu's going through and he's telling them go play like doing that kind of like I there's part of me that doesn't doubt that they probably recycled all of the because this is only like 4 years later when Ninja Turtles comes out, so I'm pretty sure they had
Oh my God.
those geese just
Yeah.
sitting there, and they're like, use these. We already got them made up. And it's an army. There's a ton of these people. This tribe is gigantic. There's like 500 of these dudes just kind of sitting there.
On screen. On screen. You can see all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Chester, of course, after not heeding the words. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay. So Chester not heeding the words of his professor because he's still, being a man of intelligence and apparent dignity that he is, also says, no. Come on, guys. We're going to go sneak off and see what this worm tribe's all about. And, of course, it all goes downhill.
He witnesses the beginning of the blood ritual. This Jimmy Snuka looking dude, I guess is the leader. What's his name?
Mm-hmm.
His name is Sorcerer Aquila. We find that out later.
Yes.
But just so we can reference him, Aquila has a couple of people lined up. Looks like there's 6 of them, and they're ready to be sacrificed. Looks like.
Yep.
And he does something. The transition is a little.
3 women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And he looks at him, and something happens here. Yeah.
Pulls out a dagger. There's a dagger in a box. And by the way, we have to make mention of this dub because in the Cantonese dub, he's this very imposing individual. Like it's the actor's very given is like like kind of more of a gruff voice, and he's dressed like the members of the Thuggee tribe from Temple of Doom. By the way, it's very reminiscent like the face paint and everything this kid was wearing. And he pulls out this dagger. It's like this obsidian dagger, and tells his followers like tonight we'll be making the sacrifice, and the dagger will choose the 2 who shall be sacrificed. And you don't know to what yet.
But he is interrupted before the ceremony can begin. He's interrupted by one of the Foot Clan, and he pulls out and then Aquila reaches in from his cloak.
Hold on. Okay, yeah. We got to set this up because this is where the movie starts turning the dial up a lot. So, of course, in part of this lineup is this beautiful young woman that Chester was spying on earlier. She's
right.
Everyone is garbed in these white clothes. They're in these like white robes, and they have this like dead stoic look on their face. And he starts, he's like, we're gonna choose and go through. One of the men stands up, and Shot's like, wait, that girl there, she is the daughter of our chief. You cannot be serious. Like that this goes against everything because you find out that she had pushed away the advances of our evil priest here, and so there's more of a personal vendetta against this girl for not wanting to put out for this scumbag.
That's right.
And yes, so this gentleman gets up and starts trying to rally the troops, but I'm just like, we can't look. We follow our practices, but we cannot allow this to happen. Like, no. This will not stand. This aggression will not stand. And How does the evil priest take care of this
He
this infidel?
he reaches in from his cloak, and then how do I describe him? Remember Spaceballs?
Yep. Just watch it.
Remember the chest burster from Spaceballs?
The jet. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's that mixed with the what's his name? Guado from Total Recall.
Actually, you know what? You want to know a person would remind me a little more of?
What's that?
The baby monster from It Lives or
Oh,
It's Alive.
yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah, this baby-looking creature, monster, demon, lunges at him from inside his cloak. Lunges. This thing is what, maybe 3 feet long. This tiny little thing.
It floats.
Yeah, it looks like a sperm with the 4 arms and a face.
And it's got a head.
Yeah,
It opens like all the way. It looks like a Canadian from South Park when they talk, like almost that level. And it lets out this high pitch. It's not a squeal. I can't. Oh, I'm gonna put a clip of this thing in here because you have to see this thing to believe it. But this is the worm that the worm tribe bases partially bases their religion around. And this thing has got like 4 hands. It's like multi-limbed. It's got like a tail and this big ass head with these big bulging eyes, and it's just moves like the Zuni fetish doll from Trilogy of Terror. As you know, that thing goes like that. That's what it reminds. That right there, its movements is that. That's what this thing is. And it floats.
It flies.
It floats. It doesn't crawl. It flies.
It attacks the
and what does it
this
do?
clan. It attacks the guy, the protesting, rips him to shreds. This guy rips him, he pokes holes through him, he rips him up, he chest bursts through his chest or his stomach, and
it bites into his neck, rips away the flesh. And by the way, this is where they turn the gore up to 11, because there's fountains of blood. And you see this thing just tearing into his neck, and the next shot is the dude lying there dead, and this thing eats its way out of him. And it's just doused in blood and viscera, and everyone's just like oh shit, like
yeah.
And then it just like the priest is like, all right, come back, and it just goes back under his cloak like it's a kitty, and just it's like peeking out like what else is going on? What else you guys doing? It comes out of nowhere. There's nothing that sets this thing up other than they're the worm tribe. Well, here's the worm, and it's this hideous abomination against nature. In the Cantonese dub, they call it a ghost, but that's because ghosts, what we think of ghosts and what the the Asian version of ghosts are two very different things. So they call it the little ghost there, but this thing doesn't really have a name other than it's the worm demon or something. They call it a demon in the dub, and it's under the control of the priest. And so this thing just hangs out on him like Yoda on a freaking Luke when he's doing the training. It's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. This whole sequence happens in under a minute. All this blood, gore. This thing is screaming. It's like, like this, and then it just goes back. It's like, all right, bye. And then we just go back like nothing happened.
And then we cut to the next scene, which is he goes right back to choosing who he's going to sacrifice. He points the dagger to each one.
The dagger glows to those who will be sacrificed.
Yes. So the priest points the dagger to this guy. It glows, and then he points another one. Nothing until we get to Baju, and it glows again. And then we get sent to the chamber, and it is Baju and this other tribe member. They are tied up, and they are tied up in front of a coffin, sarcophagus.
like
something.
it's actually almost like a sarcophagus. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's big. It's heavy. It's stone. Yeah.
This thing opens up, and out comes Tales from the Crypt. This
So
crypt keeper looking guy wearing his costume is very interesting because I'm pretty sure that's the exact same costume as Show Enough from The Last Dragon. It might have the same bag.
with like a headdress on it.
Yes.
By the way, same year this movie came out, so I don't doubt that they saw that like that'd be good. So yeah, so the ritual is the two are tied up on these posts again, like Temple of Doom, or like at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the priest dumps just gallons of blood on top of this thing, and he calls in the dub they call it ancestor, and that's what they're being sacrificed to, the old ancestor. That's what they're calling this thing. And of course, Chester had snuck into the temple, and he's watching this ritual go down, and the priest gives this like ooh, like you're screwed, and then tells everyone, let's get the hell out of here because some carnage is about to happen. So yes, so there's smoke that starts coming out of the sarcophagus, and then the thing blasts open, like just like a bomb goes off, and the lid just blows up, but you don't see anything at first until this skeletal hand comes out.
Oh my god.
And then another skeletal hand. And this thing raises up. And now this thing sounds like, now this thing's roaring. It's like that, like, but much more like deep and visceral. And it is literally, it's a skeletal puppet. It's a skeletal puppet of this mummified. It's like mummified, like it's still got skin on it and everything too. Sam Raimi, if he would be smiling at the work that went into this puppet, because what came out of this whole sequence, by the way, you thought the worm sequence was nutty. They're like, no, that was just a precursor for what's coming next. This puppet gets out and it does a backflip. It backflips out, like falls, and it kind of stands up. I don't know. I got to give credit where credit's due. This puppet's janky, but it's also cool at the same time. And I don't know how they got this thing to move, because there's clearly, like you've all seen really bad 50s movies where they had like the skeleton like moving, and it just goes, like you can see it's on a wire somehow, and it just kind of like lurches. It does that, like it's clearly not walking because it's being lifted, so they move. This thing, it's walking that line and walking like it's a proper puppet. Like it has cool movements at times, and then at other times you're like, what are you doing here? What is this? What is going on? And this whole scene, this thing is now, and everyone's supposed to be terrified. You saw this thing in real life, you're like, it's a skeleton.
It looks like an attraction from Pirates of the Caribbean, but with Ed Gein and blue eyes.
But its eyes constantly glow. Like it's got two eyeballs that are still real eyeballs. Like they look around. Like again, there's moments when you're like, the puppet's damn impressive, but at the same time, I also know full well that this is a janky puppet. But I'm all in. I have to see where this goes.
So at this point, we see our friend Chester, who's a complete badass, walk straight up to this ancient, what's his name? Ancient
They call him the old ancestor.
Old ancestor. Takes his gun and point blank shoots this thing in the head, and it angers him. Kung fu ensues, because when I tell you that everybody in this movie knows kung fu, even the skeleton knows kung fu.
It's the greatest thing. It's the greatest thing. I remember watching this the first time. I'm like, are you effing with me right now? But there's a utter joy because everything is played straight. There's no tongue in cheek. Today, if any filmmaker did this today, they would be going like, oh, come on, yeah, we know this isn't, we know this is kind of, we're going to have a little fun with it. No. This is played straight. This thing starts blocking Chester's kicks. It punches him so hard he goes flying back. Like, it's doing backflips. It's bonkers. Does not begin to describe this fight sequence. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
It is.
So,
yeah, it's a fight sequence between a man and a puppet. And
the puppet.
And
God bless the actor. He makes it work. He sells it the entire time.
This has to be the best man versus puppet fight scene I've ever seen. Ever. In any movie. Ever.
I need to know, because I only showed you the trailer. And you got glimpses of what was going on in this thing, but were you ready for for this sequence? When this showed up, what was going through your head?
I was looking at this and I was like, where are they going with this? Like, what is going? Because at this point, after this worm demon came out, I was like, all right, whatever I thought this movie was going to happen, I had no clue. Sorry, no idea what's going to happen, but I want to see where this goes. And then, sure enough, they fight, and I'm like, all right, I'm in. At this moment, this movie stopped being a good movie and became a great movie.
Yeah, right, it did. So let me there's a sequence. So Chester gets the upper hand for a second. Like, he kicks this thing into the wall, and this thing goes flying. They throw the puppet against the wall, and it, like, falls, and, like, it into shambles. It doesn't come apart. And so he runs over to try to untie the girl, and she's like, hurry. And he's like, I'm trying. And old ancestor gets back up, and he attacks Chester while he's trying to untie her. And this is right out of Evil Dead 2, because you can clearly see the puppets on a rod at this point. So it's upper torso, the way they shot it. And they're just slamming this puppet into the actor. Like, it just full force, like cannonballs into him. And they're doing it, like, over and over again. It's played completely straight. It's it's right out of Evil Dead 2. And by the way, this movie predates Evil Dead 2. So while they're filming this, Sam Raimi's coming up with the disembodied torso of Ash's girlfriend with the chainsaw, as it just keeps ramming into him. Kind of puppet. So he manages to get the demon, this demon thing off him for a second. It turns around and turns the attention to the other poor bastard that's tied up.
Oh, this part.
This beautiful, gory sequence, like he comes up behind the guy starts freaking out. This demon puppet bites into his neck, and just a fountain of blood comes gushing out. Like, it is a ridiculous amount.
He doesn't quite decapitate him, but he separates his skull from his spine.
Yeah. But there's like a piece of, like, the skin is holding it on. Like, the head is just blocked over, and his spine is sticking out.
The demon then bites, like Chris said, bites into his neck, or what's left of his neck, and sucks out his spinal cord. And you see this, he eats it like spaghetti. And you're like, what is this? Like, who wrote this? Who?
Yes. And it's like, they stay on it. Like, there's no cut. Like, it's literally, like, it's just, like, the spine is sticking out. Like, you see the vertebrae, and there's just a little piece of the cord inside, and it just starts, like, sucking.
Eats it like spaghetti.
It's a very Lady in the Tramp moment, eating spaghetti, like, like this. While this is going on, Chester manages to get the girl free. And as they get free, they turn around, and you find out why they sacrifice people to this thing, because when old ancestor eats the spinal column, again, you thought you were done with the nutty. No. We're just getting started. All right, what happens to old ancestor after he eats the spinal column?
You see his face start to morph. but you're not
Mm-hmm.
quite sure what is going on because you're looking at this thing. Your mind tells you it's a puppet. You think it's like a school project skeleton, but no, it starts to stretch out and pushes out into the camera. His eyes start bulging, and his body starts morphing. And you realize at this point that it turns into a monster. And not just any monster. This thing looks like a cross between a xenomorph and a bat. This is what is going. This is not what I expect. When I thought of a movie called The Seventh Curse, starring Chow Yun-fat, I did not expect to see a xenomorph bat in this movie.
So
But
you know the main the main yokai from like Great Yokai, the one they put on the poster with the wings.
Yes. Yes.
It looks like that with like a xenomorph body.
But you don't get a good glimpse at it. You just try to figure out what it is. But yes, that's pretty much what this thing looks like.
They give you a quick glimpse, but it's backlit, and it looks wildly impressive. Like you only get a few seconds of this thing, and it's standing. It's huge, and it's backlit, so you don't get a good look at its features right away. But you're like it got wings too, like under a bat under its arms, and you're like, what the hell? Like at this point, you're like, okay, you're not in on this ride, you need to check out this movie. But I can't think of a sane individual to be like, I got to know where this goes, because this is still the backstory. This is like they start the movie. We get 20 minutes in, sets up everything. Then we spend another 35 to 40 minutes. We go back like Tarantino movie, and we get the whole backstory.
At this point, Chester
because it ain't done.
Chester and Baju dip. They're laters. They're getting out. They're getting the hell out of there. Our priest sorcerer sends out the Foot Clan for them, and they get chased right back into into their camp, where the old white guy professor is. Yeah, base camp is like, hey man, this is all your fault.
Yeah.
They come in and they rip the place to shreds. They kill just about everybody. Baju gets the hell out of there. Who knows what happened to her? They count. Everybody in base camp is dead at this point. They get impaled. They get, except for, right. Everybody is, anybody, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's like 4 of them to get away because there's a Jeep.
Yeah. Right.
So they get into this Jeep. By the way, this movie's not done giving you everything under the sun. So the base camp just gets in. Like when they run into this tent, and one of their dudes has already been impaled. Like there is a
Cannibal Holocaust
style, and he's filled with arrows. Like he's just been impaled, and he's got like a spike going through his mouth. And the remaining people who have not been murdered viciously are taking refuge in this tent, and all the Foot Clan guys are like, all right, light the arrows. They start volleying arrows that are lit on fire into this tent, and they realize, oh yeah, we're in a tent. This provides no protection whatsoever. So Chester cuts a hole, tells everyone to get out. Another dude just gets hammered with arrows, like he just dies in front of him. There's a Jeep. They get into the Jeep, and again, this movie is nuts. But my God, there's production value in this because they have like 400 stuntmen running around on the set just causing chaos. They get into this 4x4. The survivors get the old professor Chester and like 2 of the other dudes who managed to make it out. And they start gunning it, and all of these foot dudes start jumping on top of the Jeep as they're running. The Jeep is going, and there's like 8 dudes hanging off, trying to shoot everybody. Like they got guns, they got knives. They are doing their damnedest to get in, and this Jeep is booking it over like rocks and stuff. They're stumbling, falling off everywhere. I swear to God, a guy got ran over at one point.
Like, these are not dummies. They are human beings getting hit by cars. This is a car.
Yes,
sorry.
These are not. They're getting like flown.
Yeah, it is impressive. Just, I mean, another little thing. If that was just the whole movie, this would be impressive. But this is just one small part in a bigger grand scheme.
Yes.
You see a guy get hit by a car.
Yeah. I swear to God, I'm like, that dude's dead. There's no way he's alive. Like, I watched a significant amount of martial arts films. Like the last time there's only 2 times I thought someone died. That was watching the sequence in the opening of Police Story when Jackie Chan's going through the favelas in that car and they just plowing through. I'm like, there are people like getting thrown around. The second one was in the remake to Born to Fight when they're fighting on top of the 2 semi trucks, and that one dude gets kicked off and he bounces in between the trucks as they're moving, and I'm like, that sequence still makes me like, oh god, like I'm like, how did that guy live? Like the impressiveness of that stunt. Like, but by the way, in any other country, no way in hell they would allow anything like that to ever happen. This felt like, there's no OSHA rules going on this set. Like, we don't care. You break a leg, go patch it up, get back on set. So the Jeep ends up falling over. Like these guys literally knock it over onto its side, and our heroes get captured.
Heroes being Chester and the professor, not the white guy, not
standing. Yes.
Yeah, not Giant Fat. So they get sent, they get captured, and they get brought to the high priest. And the high priest looks at them and says, "You two will be punished." High priest gets a bowl of something, looks at Chester and says, "Nah." Goes over to the old professor, pours this green liquid on him, and it starts burning him. And then, as a viewer, you think like, "Oh, it's acid, right?" No, it's not quite acid. It's acidic, burns his face, but it spawns worms. The guy has worms coming out of his body. He has worms coming out of his face. He opens up his shirt. There's worms there. He's growing worms from inside of his body, and they're trying to get out.
Yep.
And he dies horribly. It's a horrible. This thing is bleeding out worms. It is horrible to look at.
For a gorehound, this is a beautiful sequence because, and by the way, this actor's giving it his all. Like, he's just like, and he does the thing, like, he gets loose and he starts peeling the flesh away from his face, like, in chunks of it are coming off, like poltergeist style, like, just chunks are coming off, like, you see, like, his jawbone and stuff like that. And then, like, his shirt comes undone, and Chester's watching something. By the way, you just mentioned, like, the way that the priest comes up, he's like, he looks at Chester like, nah, no, I got something worse for you. And you're thinking, like he's cold and calculated. You know what? We haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah.
But the dub voice for the priest in this movie.
It sounds like someone thought the priest was going to be an old witch. So it sounds like,
yes, that's exactly how I would describe it. It's verbatim. Like, whoever dubbed this thing is like, in the Cantonese, it's very, like deep. Like, it was like, I can't really do it. But this one sounds like someone was reading Hansel and Gretel and said, "Yes, come into my gingerbread house." Like, this is how this dude's talking.
It's weird, like when you hear Frieza's voice from Dragon Ball, and it's like, that sounds like a female.
It's feminine. It's very feminine.
Right.
So yeah. So and by the way, when this dude, he starts reaching into his chest, like on his abdomen, and he rips his abdomen open, and then gallons of worms, just all these like mealworms, just start pouring out of him, and then he dies horribly. But he drops something as he's doing this, like he's just withering, and then he finally dies.
He drops like a magnifying glass or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So then the priest looks at the corpse of the dead professor, and then looks at Chester, reaches down, grabs some worms, and force feeds it to Chester.
Yep.
And now,
I think he cuts himself first.
Right.
I believe he cuts him. Yeah.
And now you see the origin of the blood curse. This is the blood curse.
Yes.
Chester starts convulsing. His legs, you see the veiny legs. It looks, it starts bulging, and then boom, his bloody veins start popping out.
Yeah.
But it keeps going. He stops. He starts. It looks like a painful sequence.
Yeah.
Chester sees that the professor dropped a magnifying glass, and in the middle of nighttime, somehow gets sunlight to reflect from the the light to the magnifying glass to the rope that he is tied to, and it creates some sort of heat, and he breaks himself free and runs off into the night.
By the way,
Where
the priest does the thing every Bond villain does when he ties up his victims. He's like, after he puts the blood curse, he's like, all right, I watched the other dude die terribly, but I'm just gonna let you, die on your own. Like, bye. I got other stuff I gotta go do. Like, I know this is gonna take a while, so I'll come back. This is how Chester gets away. But like, and by the way, not one, like both of his like legs start like bursting. Like,
yes,
there's just like, and yeah, they're pop. You hear them pop, and each time it's like more painful. And this is when he gets away. And now magically, we went from night to day. Like, it just smash cut.
he finds himself on the same. It still looks like the same leg he found Baju, and he passes out until he sees Baju in front of him, and he goes, "Oh, wow, you're here." Whatever. Baju sees his situation, his bloody legs. He looks like he just got ran over, but he's bleeding all over the place. Baju then gets the bright idea to remove all her clothes in front of him.
Yeah.
So you see everything. You see everything.
Yes.
Grabs
Very
a knife.
gratuitous.
Very. Grabs a knife. Cuts the top of her breast and pulls out this ball, this cherry. Is thinking this looks like
it's a weird orb. Like some orb she had in her breast. Yeah. Any other doctor would be like, you need to get that checked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Breast.
That's disgusting.
I'm like, there's no scar on this girl, by the way. Like, how did this get in here? But she just kind of like makes like a small incision and then just reaches in like it's nothing. And then, this orb that she pulls out, it's like a hard marble, and it starts glowing.
Then feeds it to Chester, and he eats it. He swallows it whole, passes out again, wakes up the next day, and his heels are healed. There is no blood. He's all completely healed.
Yep, she's gone.
She's gone. He leaves. He leaves. Smash cut back to Chow Yun-Fat's house, where it's just him and Chester. Chow Yun-Fat takes a long drag of his pipe, inhales it, and just and tells Chester, "You got to go to Hong Kong, or you're gonna die in 3 days of this blood curse."
Yeah. He says once. So basically, he lays it out. He's like, so you say, your leg. So he's like, it'll move up your body until eventually reaches your heart, and when it reaches your heart, that's where it'll kill you. He's like, so it started. So I'm assuming you got about 4 or 5 days left. So he's you got less than a week. Now, in between all of this, so while he's doing this, Betsy comes in, and we find out that she's his cousin.
The Chow Yun-Fat's cousin.
Yes. And we're also introduced Chow Yun-Fat's wife,
Sue.
Which I don't even. Yeah, Sue. So while they're all sitting there chit-chatting, she's like, "Oh, I want to go to Thailand with you," and he's like, "Did you not just hear him telling this tale of terror?" And she's like, but she's a scrappy young reporter. She wants to get the scoop. As he's getting a little worked up, he's like, "No, his leg, his other leg burst."
Yeah, and he figures it's been 24 hours since the last one, so if he maps it out, then his days are numbered. But could we just talk for a second and let's talk about Betsy's haircut?
Go on.
How would you describe it? I would say like a mullet with bangs. Bangs with a mullet.
Yeah, it's you know what? Do you remember? Did you ever watch Scream 3?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. She looks like Courtney Cox with with the bangs of the mullet.
Whatever was going on with that.
That's
it's akin to this. I won't say it's as bad, but it's an interesting choice. Choices were made on this. Choices were. I don't think any sensible woman would look at it like, did you do it yourself? Like, why? Why? Like this, it's a haircut that screams, I have no friends. That's what it says.
It's a haircut that screams, I make my own clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I work at the Buffalo Exchange, and
again, these were she showed up on set. The director said, all right, let's go with it.
Let's go with it.
I said yes.
Again,
Someone said yes to all this.
This is 1986, 1985, whatever, when this movie came out. All right, so here we go. Giant Fat tells Chester. Go ahead.
So this, by the way, again, insane dialogue. Not exactly 1-to-1, but this dub makes it even more insane. Tells Chester, you gotta go to Thailand. You gotta find this dragon dude. I'll join you in like 2 days. Like,
yes.
Like I got some stuff I gotta take care of. I know you're dying and you're my best friend, but I gotta get the house locked up. I'll see you there. Like, it's just like this very nonchalant, like, dude, you're not going right now. You're not hopping. I was like, no, you're more than capable. Like, I gotta find a dog sitter, like that kind of thing. Like, you'll be there in 2 days. You said he's gonna be dead in 3. Like, come on, dude, what the hell?
Smash cut to the airport. Chester arrives in Thailand. You can tell because there's Thai written outside of the airport. And he's approached by a cab driver, and he says, "Oh, you must be Chester. My employer brought me here to take you." He takes his bags. Chester arrives at a hotel and notices that there is weapons of high caliber in his hotel room. This guy's got he's got like a grounded machine gun. He's got a rocket launcher. There's more guns than there's more guns than fingers in this room.
Yes. Like a Stallone, like Stallone would be like envious of how many guns are just strewn about. And this is Thailand, by the way. Like, it's just yeah. You need guns, we got you guns.
And then you see a red laser coming in from the side of the room, and you Chester freaks out for a second. A gun goes off, and who is it? None other than our good friend Betsy with her haircut. And you look at it, you're like,
she shoots a gun off in a hotel room.
Into the wall.
By the way, this thing into the wall. There's probably another room or a hallway. It went right through the damn wall. But it's like that. She's like, "Hey, you like my new toy?" You're like,
this gun.
Any responsible gun owner is like, "What are you doing?" Like, she's like, "Ha ha." Like, and by the way, this is the biggest sight I've ever seen on a gun. This is for the sight is I've not seen rifle sights this big. This gun it's a handgun. It's like a Glock, and it's got a sight that's as big as the damn gun on it.
You know what it looks like? It looks like Megatron's alternate mode.
You read my mind because I'm like, that looks like the Megatron toy, but just
that's exactly what it looks like. Yes, but bigger. And Chester's like, "What the hell? What are you? You can't be here. I told you to stay." She goes, "I want to go with you. I'm going with you." Chester says, "Enough of this." Ties her up, ties her by the ankles and by the
ties her.
Tapes her mouth shut and says, "I'm out of here." Goes on his way to find this dragon guy. I don't remember how I remember when they get to the house, but how do they meet?
They don't explain it. He just shows up. He just shows up to like this abandoned area, and there's like this dilapidated trailer just sitting out in the middle of nowhere.
And then one of the best pieces of dialogue said in this movie, in this dub, is he meets up with Dragon. "Thank you for coming. I'm glad you came." He looks at Chester and says, "You know, there's a lot of evil forces going on here. The sorcerer Aquila has brought all sorts of evil. He's brought organized crime. He's brought demons, and they're here to work against us." Not even 2 seconds later, this beat up old house, it just gets invaded by 20 dudes, and kung fu
He doesn't
ensues.
even finish his sentence. It's like he's like mid sentence, and then all of it, like when Chester showed up, no one. Like the time between he shows up and this quick soliloquy is literally like a minute and 5 seconds. In like mid sentence, just they are bombarded with like these with the foot soldier dudes.
20
so now
dudes.
You got not one. Yeah, we got like 2 dudes. Now you have just another fight.
Yeah, just a fight of you got nunchucks, you got sticks, you got tonfas. They're going at it. I mean, it's a fight. It's a fight, and then from nowhere you see a spray of bullets coming from a window, and who is it? It's Betsy with the cab driver.
Yep.
Who came back for the scene.
This guy's just like, what in God's name is going on here? By the way, she just murders a bunch of dudes, no problem. No problem whatsoever. Has no qualms.
And then she grabs it looks like an ornament. She pulls it off, and then you figure like that's not an ornament, that's a grenade. She throws a live grenade into this house and blows up like 4 dudes.
God bless this movie. God bless this movie. Again, we're only 40 minutes in. We're about 45 minutes into this movie by this point. We're halfway through. And it's been maybe 10, 15 minutes of like dialogue. And it's been non-stop, insane crap happening left and right. Like this, like I got a feeling there was a longer cut, and they probably said, no, we got to keep this. The action has to keep moving. Because you're going to get bored if we have to explain anything else. It's this whole scene, like, and by the way, the Dragon and Chester are just beating the crap out of these guys. They're getting the crap beaten out of them until it's like the end of Rambo, the 4th Rambo, when he gets up on the submachine gun and she just mows these dudes down. No, like there's not in a sense like I'm taking it. It's like no. Screw these guys. Especially just the pulling of the grenade. The odds, like she pulls her teeth, tosses it. Oh God, this is again. You want everything. Here's the thing that during Dragon, when Dragon minute and a half of his speech, we find out like
we find out that
since he's under the blood curse, she's under I'm sorry, I was so caught up with that. The girl's name, the other girl that saved him.
Baju.
Yeah, she's been cursed. She's under the worm demon curse.
Right.
So she has a separate curse on her head now too. So there's 2 curses. We don't see how she got cursed, but she's been cursed. So she is cursed. So there's 2 curses going on.
Smash cut again.
Mm-hmm.
Right after Betsy blows up, she throws this grenade, kills like 4 dudes inside of a land house. Smash cut to it's Dragon, it's Betsy and Chester in a Jeep Cherokee driving to the jungle, and they get to a jungle, an allied jungle. I believe they don't tell. An allied tribe. Mm-hmm. They don't. Do they give the name of the tribe?
No, I don't. I did not catch it because they might have in the original version with this dub. They don't. They're just kind of they're just throwaway. They're more bodies to be murdered later.
So they get off and they say, "Hey, buddy, remember us? We remember you. The Dragon, I'm glad you're here. You have to take my men. They took all our children. And there is no children. There is no more children in the village. They've been taken by the Worm tribe."
Temple of Doom style.
Great, awesome, great. They round up a posse.
Why did they?
Oh yes,
why?
Yes. Because there's a demon, a flying demon that needs the blood of 100 children, and it kills mercilessly. It kills mercilessly, and it is horrible. But they need to go stop it.
Well, so you find out. Well, no. The little worm guy, the little worm demon that they have,
Yeah.
It's his little pet. Turns out there's an expiration date on him, and that
Every
every
3 years,
3 years
right? Yeah.
they have to sacrifice like so many kids in order to keep this thing under their control. Otherwise, it'll just go away. So they want to keep it under their employ. They gotta go murder some children. Like this movie has everything.
So now, we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
We will get to that. And so now, sorry, and now they are it's Dragon and Chester and Betsy, and they're wandering through the forest with a posse, and they get ambushed. They step on something, and they step on a false trap or something, and they get a wall of spikes, kills half of the posse. This one trap grabs the legs of this one guy, strings him up, and you figure like, oh, he gets strung up and that's it. Nope, the guy gets ripped apart. He gets ripped in two like Jurassic Park 2. The guy just
gets bifurcated.
He just splits, and you're like, what? At this point, I paused it, rewound it to make sure that I saw exactly what that was. And sure enough, he gets one leg goes to the right, one leg goes to the left, and the head comes off, somewhere in the middle gets flown off.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, everybody in the posse is dead except for Dragon and Chester. And out comes Betsy, and she goes like, oh, I know about these. I know about the Viet Cong. That's not what we're getting here, but that she says that out loud. Yeah. And she goes like, I know how to trigger traps. She throws a rock at something, a trap triggers, and she goes, see, I got this. Whatever. She has an argument with Chester, saying like, you don't need to be here. There's no reason for you to be here, and you should just leave. And she does, kind of. She takes a couple steps back, and then she falls into a pit hole. And Chester stops hearing noises, so she figures, well, she's gone. Great, laters. Meets up with Dragon. Doesn't take a second of thought. Doesn't look around, just like, oh, it's quiet. Great.
She get back
moving
over
on.
Like, yeah.
Yep. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Buddy. Okay.
Logic is not this movie's strong point, but it's better for it, though.
This movie's only getting better because smash cut to daytime. Smash cut to daytime. They are back in the LA village, Dragon and Chester, and they are loading up. They're loading up. It looks, they're ready for the raid. It looks like it's like the third act of Rambo. They got all their guns and bullets and bows and arrows. They strap up and they get in the Jeep Cherokee, and they go straight into the Worm Tribe's area and just start mowing down dudes. Again, this middle of the day, you see everything. I counted 2 people
in the Jeep.
Yes.
It's just bodies. Just bodies being hit by this Jeep. Like, I don't know how you act this. I'm 99% sure people just get hit by this Jeep.
They cut to an exterior shot of the Jeep driving around the set of this tribe or whatever, and I count 2 people getting hit by a car and not getting up. 2 people. So I'm positive those guys got injured horribly. And then these 2 do something that I have never ever seen in a rescue mission, because they know that I don't know how they know, but they know that Bijou has been captured, and so has Betsy. But the information, the information is not said. Never. But movie magic, they figured it out.
Yeah.
These 2 take the Jeep up the steps of the temple. They get the high ground.
Really showing off that 4-wheel drive. Like, I'm like, that's wildly impressive. That is a hell of a suspension on that thing. That's a well-made car.
Yes. they unload. They get off. They get all those guns that they load in the truck, and they just are spraying down bullets down this pyramid temple thing, and just mow down anybody who gets in the way. Just maybe if there's 40 people on screen, 39 of them go down. Looks like they killed the entirety of the Foot Clan of the Worm tribe.
Yeah,
it's something I've never seen ever in an action movie, horror, comedy, whatever. And then they enter the temple. Chester's got a shotgun, and Dragon's got a bow and arrow. And every dude they reach, every dude they see, in this order. In this order it happens. Dragon pulls back his bow, shoots him, and then Chester shoots him with the shotgun just to make sure they die.
Make sure this guy's like, no, you need to be double dead.
Yes. Any remnant of the Foot Clan of the Worm tribe is dead, double dead, and they make their way down the lair, and then you hear children screaming. And comes to the crown jewel of this movie. What do you see, Chris?
So they have this gigantic stone pit, and there's like a red light coming out of it. And there's a couple of these cult dudes, and there's two of them at the edge of the pit, on like the left right side. And there's a third dude who's just like picking at children, like they're, like he's shoveling them. And he just picks them up and drops them into this pit. And the second he drops them, the other two dudes start cranking to these handles, and there's these two stone slabs that just smash the hell out of these kids. Each one goes in, another one, smash, and just blood comes pouring out. And the evil priest is there. He's like, all right, I think that's enough child blood. And takes the blood of these innocent children into this bowl and goes off to this other, like, this adjacent room. And he's like, yes, like, this is what we need. So this is how they keep this worm demon thing under their power. He drops it into this other, like, it's like another, like, sarcophagus looking thing. And it's just filled with bubbling blood. It's boiling. It's boiling blood. Like, it's boiling. Like, it's like, man, they turn kids into orange juice, essentially. That's what this thing was. It's Homer when they're like, dude, like, before, this is how you can only get orange juice. And then, like, when he squashes against his head to juice it, they were juicing children, essentially. Like, that's what they were doing. They were juicing children. And to get the pull that they had, they went through they're not even, and by the way, Chester and Dragon are not even concerned with these kids. Do not give it a single, they're like, well, they're screwed. They're like, whatever. The kids are dead. That entire village's, like, population of children was wiped clean, because when you see the pool of blood, I'm like, you realize you're getting, like, what, eight pints out of a human body? Like, this is like a swimming pool, like a jacuzzi of blood. So every child had been smushed into this thing, like they're trying to, like, make alcohol great. They don't give it, like, all right, like, well, that sucks to be them, and they move on. They move on. There's no attempt to save any of the other kids. Nothing. Like,
There's not even mentioned again, if I remember correctly.
It's never brought up. It's never brought up after this. You see this terrible, horrific moment, and you're like, well, that sucks.
Great.
All right,
awesome.
We got to get back to the mission.
I don't remember how, but they find Betsy.
Yes.
They find Betsy.
They find her.
And they find she's I don't know how, but moving back, they bring her back to the village.
They bring her back, but because the priest and everyone else is off resurrecting the demon worm, because they actually show the worm, like, he does this thing, and you see this the cauldron bubbles, and then this thing, and it comes back out of it, and they're like, all right, our lease has been renewed for another 3 years.
He says, "Oh yes, here I remember." He says to the priest says to the demon, "Go find Chester and kill them and the others." Right?
Mm-hmm.
So off goes
Yep.
the demon, and you don't see him for a little bit. But they bring Chester and Dragon bring back Betsy, and they try to relieve her of her fever or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a little
She
sick. Like clearly something's happened to her.
the moment they turn their back on them, she resurrects like Nosferatu and goes apeshit on these two. She grabs a machete and starts wailing on her. Wham, wham, wham.
You know,
Goes,
not
what
only
the
that,
hell?
now she has demon strength too. Like she's
Oh yeah.
kicking people and they're going flying like 15, 20 feet. And she knows perfect kung fu at this point too.
Again, everybody knows kung fu. And so then the fight drags out outside. These cars pull up, and it's Chow Yun Fat and his wife Sue, and they grab Betsy, and they give her morphine, heroin. I don't know what they give her, something to calm her down.
They knock her out, yeah.
And
His wife, Chow Yun Fat's wife, just stabs her in the neck with a syringe.
And
it takes 5 dudes to hold her down, by the way.
Yes. First words out of Chow Yun's fat mouth is, "She has the black curse."
Mm-hmm.
How do we get rid of the black curse, you ask? Chris, would you enlighten us?
You got to go into the forest or into the jungle, and you have to find any animal that's black. Black goats, black birds, black bugs, anything that's black, because that's apparently the parameters of this curse, which, by the way, Chow Yun Fat immediately recognizes when he rolls in. He's like, I've seen this before. It's black curse. You should go find something that's black. I don't care. But we gotta. They round up a bunch of animals that are black. So apparently the jungles of Thailand are filled with black animals just running around. And they have to drain them of their blood. And they fill it into this tub. And Chow Yun Fat says she must bathe in the blood of these animals for like a day for the curse to be lifted out. So it's almost like she's having a cleanse. Like they drop her in. She's unconscious, by the way. She's been like doped up, and she's sitting. And by the way, this tub is also boiling for some reason too. I don't know how. I don't know what's going on. But apparently, when you're doing any sort of ritual, the blood's got to boil. Like it's generating its own heat. If this was real, like thermodynamics would have been accomplished years ago. Like cold fusion would be a thing. It's just based on magic. So yeah, so she's in this vat of blood, unconscious, just soaking in like a spa day. And we cut to the next morning. By the way,
it is
blood, all gone.
It looks like a milky substance, right?
Yes.
She sees our other hero, Biju. I'm gonna hold on. Am I saying that right? Been saying her name. Baju.
Yes.
Baju. And she wakes up and freaks out. And she goes, who are you? And you notice that her face has been half covered. And
yeah, she's wearing like a cloak.
She reaches out and reveals. She pulls her cloak over and reveals that half her face looks like Harvey Dent. It is burnt. It is crisp. It is, but it looks like fun. Yeah, it looks like she got grilled.
She's mad with half a face.
Yes. Then we go. It is later that night. Oh, before it's later that night, Baju sends Dragon and Chester for this side quest to go retrieve the Eye of Buddha, I think.
Yes.
Do you remember the exact name?
I forgot I forgot the name in this because again, like I'm transfixed by the dub on this thing because again, like the stuff that's coming out of these people's mouths is absolutely, like, again, dialogue on par with Showgirls at times. By the way, I love Showgirls. Like that is it's an amazing movie in its own right, and the dialogue is so wonky, but you're like, it's almost boring. Like you could not, like a dumb person could not write this. A smart person. There's only, it would take a smart person to make something that sounds this dumb but this brilliant at the same time. There is an art to this. I don't know who people who were dubbing this when they wrote this script, but God bless them. So yeah, so they explain if both Bichu and Chester are to be alleviated of their curses, they need to retrieve the eyes of this Buddha that will alleviate them of their respective curses. So now we have our quest.
So they're up. So they're on their quest, but before they reach their quest, we cut back to Chow Yun-Fat's hut, where he is attacked by the baby demon sperm creature.
We got to set this up because again, you want to talk
Please.
about nutty. So they somehow know this thing is on its way. Like they're keenly aware. Chow Yun-Fat is just walking around smoking his pipe, like he's pacing around, like yes, yeah. And then out of nowhere, this floating worm demon barges in, and he not like, oh my god, like you've shown up, and not his face does not change at all. He is like, yes, you're the grotesque thing. Everyone storms in. This thing like lunges at him. He dodges. It hits this like this desk that's set up with a bunch of crap on it, and like plows into it. And it's like floating around. Lunges at him again, and you find out that they set up a trap for this thing. And like 20 people barge in, and it starts like trying to attack. It unfortunately attacks an unnamed soldier. Barges around. They manages to do it. Chow Yun-Fat's wife gets a bag. She has a bag, and he's just like, bag it up. Like they subdue this thing and get it into this bag, and then we just smash cut away back to our heroes on their adventure.
And they are at the feet.
Like this whole sequence was just like, oh, there you go.
They are at the feet of the Buddha they were looking for. This Buddha has to be what? I don't know. 100 feet tall?
It's like huge. No, it's not. It's at least 50 foot. They got to climb. It's a gigantic Buddha statue. And this is an impressive set piece, by the way. This thing looks like it's life size. It's massive. Like, they have to scale it. Like,
they have to go up there. They have to go up there and get the eyes.
To get the eyes, you have to climb. It's like Goku when he has to climb the tower to get the Kami's place. Like, you have to earn your way by climbing it. It's gigantic.
So they start climbing it. And hey, Chris, when was the last time we had a Kung Fu sequence? How long? Has it been 5 minutes?
It's been about 15. It's been about
15
minutes.
minutes?
No, not even that. It's been about 5.5 minutes at this point.
5 minutes? You know what? Halfway up there? It's about time for another Kung Fu sequence. Dragon and Chester are spotted by some monks.
Okay. Who appear out of nowhere. Like, they're halfway up, and all of a sudden, the camera pulls back, and there's all of these monks just sitting, like monks would do, on different portions of this Buddha statue. Like, and by the way, at this point, they had gotten halfway through, so the Buddha's like, it's like a Thai Buddha. So it's got its palm up and another palm down, and Chester had like climbed into the hand, and the hand fell. Like, it fell over. So this thing kind of moved. Like, it's got like spots, like it's posable. And all of these monks appear out of nowhere. And Dragon's like, oh, I know who these guys are. And he's trying to reason with them. He's like, look, we don't have like sister motives. But the monks don't get. They don't say a thing. They don't say a word.
They're monks.
They're monks.
And
apparently their job is to protect this Buddha.
Exactly.
Yep.
Sure enough,
we get we get a Kung Fu sequence on this Buddha. So these Buddhist monks are apparently supernatural of some sort because they move in ways that, like, they're like mountain goats. They're on top of this thing, moving around, no problem. And now it's like American Gladiators when when you have to climb the pyramid and you got the gladiators trying to throw you off of it. This sequence goes for like 2 or 3 minutes, and it's just Chester and Dragon fighting off these monks. They're throwing them off. The hand keeps moving. It crushes one of them like between like its palm. There's knives that come out. There's all it like I'm not doing it justice. You have to see the sequence because this is the most Indiana Jones thing that's in this movie, and they're like 25, 30 foot off the ground. Like they throw one of the monks off, and he falls so far he kind of disappears into the darkness.
So they finally reach the eye of the Buddha. They pull out the eye, and this Pepto-Bismol looking liquid comes out. They are covered in bloody, I guess, pink tears. For some reason, this decapitates the Buddha. The Buddha comes running, comes down. They hurry down the Buddha, and like you said, this Indiana Jones sequence happens where the head of the Buddha is rolling down, and the heroes have to escape for it.
So Dragon jumps one way. By the way, it's a great green screen sequence. It's head rolling, and they're running. They are running for their lives. And by the way, the eyes are like covered in ash, but when they kind of dust them off, like they're glowing, these glowing orbs. Like that's what these things are. And so apparently, if you whatever these things are, will cure whatever curse you have on you. So the head's rolling. Dragon jumps out of one way, but Chester does not make it, and the head smashes into a wall. And you're like, oh, did we come this far to see our hero die? When I first, I'm like, this movie's just saying to do that very thing. But no, he narrowly survives. Like he's kind of pinned between the Buddha statue and the wall with about maybe like 3 centimeters of space left between his nose and being completely smashed by this head. And Dragon looks and he's like, you all right? He's like he looked like he just crapped his pants because he just had a near-death experience of being squashed. Kind of shimmies out, and that's when Dragon's like, no, look, you have to take the cure now. So he cracks open the orb, and there's like this glowing stuff inside of it, and he takes it, and he's like, eat it. And he takes it's like another like little orb thing inside, and he swallows it, and he's like, Chester swallows it, he's like, huh. And Dragon's like, all right, you're cured. Let's move on. Because now, like, apparently there's a time limit on the other eye. And this is an important thing because we'll come back to this in a little bit. But in order to cure the worm curse, they need to get this orb like post haste. They never explain why there's a time limit. It's just a time limit apparently. If you do one, you got this much. You got a short amount of time to use the other one, which
we'll get to
brings us to our third act, like the climax of this movie.
They go down back to the village, to the camp, and they see it's been ransacked. It has been looted, and the Foot Clan with the remnants have come back, and they've once again kidnapped Betsy and Baji. Dragon comes out, says, we gotta go get him. So up they go. It is our heroes, and they go right back up to.
I gotta give credit. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I gotta give credit because this is one of the few movies where the grunts are actually competent. Did you notice that?
Wow, yeah, you're right.
The bad guys are fairly competent in what they do. Normally, when you have like an army of bad guys, they're kind of idiots. The only other time that the grunts I've ever seen like this were competent were in the raid. Like, yes, I think, Rom in that movie does slaughter a lot, but like they are not. They're all mini bosses in their own right. Like, there's no. If this was a beat 'em up, if this was Double Dragon, you're fighting Adobo with every dude. Every dude's Adobo. He's beating the crap out of all of them. Again, it leads some credence to the fact that these are real bad dudes and they're good at what they do.
So our heroes go up the temple, and they are greeted by our villain of the movie. It is Lord Aqua, right? And
Mm-hmm.
kung fu ensues, right? And you think,
It's
all right,
ensues.
it's a 2-on-1. It's a 2-on-1 fight.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see this. Lord Aqua gets hit really hard. He lands on the sarcophagus of
Sarcophagus. But by the way, he had started the ritual again. He had smattered it with blood.
yeah.
And our two heroines are tied up. So we're going back to the flashback sequence again. So the ritual is starting. So what you think is going to be a fight does not ensue because, the priest gets done. He gets like kicked on top of the sarcophagus, and he kind of realizes where he's at. And the sarcophagus, instead of blowing up this time, just gently moves to the side. And you see the skeletal hand come up, grab him by the face, and drag him into the sarcophagus. And there goes our main bad guy from the movie. He gets bested by his own, he's foiled by his own by his own plans. Like he was hoisted on his own petard, if you will. But that's not the end of it.
No. So out moves the sarcophagus. It almost runs over our heroes, and they're back into the pit where this all started.
Mm-hmm.
Then out comes the crypt keeper, what do they call him? Ancient one?
The old ancestor.
The old ancestor comes out in his Tales from the Crypt form. He looks like a skeleton with a gi on,
mm-hmm.
and he starts transforming again back into the xenomorph bat monster. And now, here we go.
Now he ate the priest, so now he's got the. Yep.
Yes.
So now we get a full look at this thing, and it is
wonderful.
All the rubber suit gnarliness you want. Because the dude, it's clearly a dude in a suit. This thing is awesome. So it's got this giant elongated head. It's got a jaw that kind of opens up like kind of like a snake. It's got these two gigantic claws, like at the end on its arms, and it flaps. It flaps like this. Like it. Clearly, the suit cannot move like its arms too well because of the bad appendages. Go ahead.
Most importantly, it knows kung fu.
Mm-hmm.
It knows kung fu because it begins fighting. It begins fighting with their heroes.
And it beats the crap out of them. Like it knows kung fu very, very well. And this again. Everything we've described up to this moment is nutty, but this sequence that unfolds is art. There's no other way to describe it. It is brilliant art. This is that picture of Jung Hoon-ho like smoking, and he says, "This is cinema." This is that moment right there. This is pure, unadulterated cinema, and my God, is it beautiful!
Our heroes are being beat up. They are getting their ass handed to them by this creature monster demon.
Mm-hmm.
Ancient one.
But who shows up?
It's Sue. It's Sue. It's Chow Yun Fat's.
Well, no, not yet.
No.
We get the military dudes. Because our monster needs a body count before we get into the final act.
Sue shows up with the military dudes. Yes.
So this sequence is insane. So they're all packed. They're all packing heat. So they start unloading onto this monster, and they are filling it with bullets, and it's not doing anything. So this thing starts flying. It's doing the kung fu, spin, like you get that low shot of the guy doing the spin flip in the air, lands on a dude, starts flying, picks a dude up with his talons, and drags him off to the ceiling and rips him apart. The other soldiers come in. They got guns. It's knocking the guns out. It's ripping throats out. It is eviscerating all these soldiers. There's one awesome shot where it takes a dude, picks him up, and like breaks his back and throws him on the ground, and then crushes his skull with its
That's
foot.
true. He gets crushed off. Yeah.
His head just collapses in this fountain of blood. and all the soldiers are just getting taken off one by one. This thing is jumping from the ceiling to the ground. It is not staying in one place. Dragon and Chester are getting in on the fight. They're getting their butts handed to them. Like this, it is pure, utter chaos. And you're sitting there going like, holy, there's no way. There's no way they're going to top this. There's absolutely no way.
Until less than 30 seconds later, after the last guy is killed, Sue says, "Release the demon," and out comes the worm demon. Woo.
Okay, hold on a second.
Go ahead.
I need to know, like, when I first saw this, I lost my mind. But that was a young, spry, 25-year-old Chris. I need to know, what went through Arian's head? When now you're in the middle of this movie, you're getting a monster fight after all this insane stuff happened. And not only are you getting a monster fight, you're getting this dude in this giant rubber suit fighting this puppet that's floating around.
That knows Kung Fu. That's the most important part, that this creature knows Kung Fu.
What went through your head the second the sequence started?
I got up from my chair. I put my hands in my fist and yelled out, "Let's go! Let's go!" I clapped. I praised the cinema god.
So this sequence doesn't last that long, but my God, is it glorious! If you love monster fights, this is the baddest, most nonsense fight, but it's the most awesome thing you'll ever see.
At this point of the movie,
yes,
at this point of the movie, it's becoming a great movie, and it is now transcended into my favorite movie of all time.
This worm, and by the way, this worm creature f's up the xenomorph demon. It does, like, it is an equal. It is an equal. This little puppet worm ghost thing they are going to town. These things are just, while everyone's watching this fight, these two monsters are going at it. This little worm thing is moving around like it's zipping back and forth. And every time it does, its little arms do this like wave thing, because you got to see this thing move as it's like going, like it's like a little Zuni finish off. Going, and it lunges. It takes like a chunk out of the back creature's neck. It bites the wing webbing. It rips it apart, pulls chunks out of the chest. Like, it messes up this monster. Like and for a minute, it's got the upper hand. It's gonna
do it.
My words do not do this scene justice. They do not do it justice at all. And this monster is just getting right. And you get this beautiful shot. And not only that, the worm thing's covered in blood and like chunks of the monster now. And this thing's trying to fight. It's like flipping back. The worm jumps back on it, and it's just going to town on this thing. And it rips like pieces of its head off. And you're just watching. You're like, and you believe every single second of it. It is both the dumbest and greatest fight of all time in cinema history. The bat monster gets the upper hand finally because it catches it, and it bites this thing in half. Like, it literally bites it in half and then tears it apart. But when we pull back, the damage is done. The damage is done. This thing is jacked. It is jacked up. And it's still going, though. Like, it lets out this roar. Its wings are completely gone. It's just tethered. It's bleeding profusely. And now they're like, everyone's like, oh, we still got to deal with this thing. Like an archangel coming down from the sky.
This is Gandalf in the Two Towers coming off his horse.
Yes.
coming in from the cave, and he bears with him. He bears with him the ultimate weapon, a rocket
launcher.
a
This is
bazooka.
Barry. This is Barry at the end of Resident Evil, tossing Chris the rocket launcher to take out the tyrant. He not only comes in because he's up high because it's a pit, so there's stairs. He comes in, doesn't say a word, just carrying this rocket launcher like it's nothing, and then because Chung Young Fat is the baddest BMF on the planet, just casually like, all right, we're done with this. Launches a rocket propelled grenade at this thing. Not even telling anybody, duck, get out of the way.
No.
Just zooms past everyone and hits this thing dead center. Boom. You know what it doesn't do? It doesn't destroy this thing. This thing is still standing, but it collapses. Like it's like, got this gaping hole. And there's that moment of like, it's what Army of Darkness did best. You know, when the witch is like telling everyone, it's like, you will all die, and she collapses.
Yeah.
And the guy goes in to put his hands, and Ash is like, no, it's a trap. Get a knife or whatever. They kind of lean in, looking, see this thing's dead. Of course it's not dead. Because why would it be dead? Jumps back up, everyone stands back. Chow Yun Fat, without even thinking, reloads. He has the rocket launcher reloaded. Fires one more volley. Everyone is within blast distance of this thing, by the way. And then utterly blows this thing to Kingdom Come. Like the destruction shot is like something out of a Sentai show. Where this thing just blows up. It's that static shot, and it just everywhere. Pieces of it everywhere. Just going all over the place. By the way, no one covering their ears. No one's like, oh, I'm deaf from this explosion. Nothing at all. They're just standing like, oh, well, I guess we won.
Yeah.
That's it.
Smash cut.
Well, hold on. Because this is where this movie gets much more like you're sitting there going, what the hell? So now they have the other orb.
Oh,
they have to give it to so they gotta give it to Baksha. The orb's magic is gone. It will no longer work. So her curse is forever on her face. And they're like, wow, that sucks. What are you going to do? And she tells Dragon's like, can you still love me even if I look like this? Because now she's got her cloak off. And of course, Dragon's like being the man. He's like, I can love you, any other way. And everyone, I'm not kidding. Everyone just goes, all right. Credits. The movie ends on this note of this poor girl who did nothing wrong. She was a victim the whole time. She went out of her way to save a man who she did not know, who saved her from sudden death. And she is left horrifically disfigured, and everyone is just like, cool, that's it. The movie ends. Credits start rolling. There's no other, like, well, I guess the day is won. Maybe we can help her. Nothing. Credits. You're like, what in God's name just happened? Now, here's the thing. So, when at the beginning of this episode, I thought about there's various cuts of this movie. So, I'm assuming the one you watched, as the credits rolled, there's this nice, like, dinner scene where everyone's standing around talking. You don't hear a single word that's going on as the credits are rolling. Is that the one you watched?
It goes into a party scene. You see Chow Yun Fat and Chester in frame. They make a toast, and then the credits roll. But no, you have no idea where everybody is.
Nope.
The only two characters that you see. You don't. Go ahead.
So that is the original ending of this movie.
Okay.
Like they have this little thing where they're like, "Job well done," and then in the original version, then the credits roll. The credits just roll like the even without that, even if you put that in there, you still sit there going, what? You just screwed over this poor girl, and you made no bones about it. You had not a care in the world. You're like, literally just, you know, you know, you know, you know, toasting to another job well done. Here's to another adventure. You don't get that in the credit. You kind of get that in the credits, but in the original, like they just that's essentially what they're doing. Then it's credit. Either way, someone said we're gonna end it right here with like literally the monster. It's like the end of The Fly when Gina Davis just shoots Jeff Goldblum in the head, and then credits. Nothing. You don't get any sort of like. I need a minute to process all this stuff that just happened. That is the ending. The balls on these people to give us this kind of ending is insane. It's absolutely bonkers. And you know what? Especially rewatching it, I honestly can't think of any other better way to end this movie. You're just like, there we go. Suck you. Credits. Like, that is it. And that, everybody, is the seventh curse.
Buddy, if you're listening to this and you've never seen the seventh curse, do yourself a favor. It's streaming. It's on Crackle. It's on Plex. Go watch it. You will not regret
it. The fact that more people do not know anything about this movie is heartbreaking to me. I know horror hounds who have never heard of this movie in their life. I think part of it is because it is a foreign film. And I know horror fans they like their 70s, 80s horror. They like their gore stuff. Look, I love my horror movies. And if you do it well, that's fine. I even like my trashy horror movies. The thing that's not for me these days is, the gore porn.
Right.
It's on like Terrifier, where it's just like there's kind of almost no story to it. You're just at these aggressive kill after kill after kill. It's like, I need substance to it. That's what this movie has in spades. It has substance. We got to talk about the people behind this movie real quick.
Okay.
So this is directed by a gentleman named Ngai Kai. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Most people know him from
Riki-Oh, The Story of Ricky.
Right.
So that gives you an idea of this gentleman's filmography, of like what he's known for. But he actually has a very robust filmography. He was a pretty prolific director in Hong Kong for a good I'm looking at his filmography here. He started in 79 or 75. Excuse me. And that's a cinematographer. He was also a cinematographer, so kind of like a Jan de Bont kind of dude. So his first film was in 81, and his last movie was in 92. This man only directed for a decade, a little over a decade, but he managed to crank out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 movies in that time. This is what I call prolific director, and he did everything from comedies to horror to fantasy. Again, most people would know him from Riki-Oh. Some of the other movies which we are going to discuss in later episodes. There is The Peacock King and The Saga of Phoenix, which are bonkers fantasy films in their own right. His last movie was a movie called The Cat. And I bring this up because Seventh Curse is actually based on a book series in China called, let me have it right here. It is where do I have it? Here we are. It is the Dr. Yoon series. So that's the character's actual name in the original Cantonese. So it is a series. So essentially, the way I describe this movie, I hope you find this apt. It's Indiana Jones meets Evil Dead.
Yep, so that's a good way.
What I'm gathering is, so I'm gathering that's kind of what these books are about. I haven't really gone too deep into them. But Chow Yun-Fat's character actually has his own series, like companion pieces. So kind of like how Tom Clancy wrote the Jack Ryan series, and then started spinning off like into Rainbow Six, all the other the other side characters. So there's the Dr. Wesley series, which is Chow Yun-Fat's character. He has his own adventures, and the cat is one of those. So the cat is what you could call a spiritual sequel to this, because it's Chow Yun-Fat character in his own adventure dealing with a interdimensional cat and the demon that is following it. This is a movie I've been digging for a while, and I think I'm finally obtaining a copy. But the clips I've seen are on par with the nuttiness of this movie. So after the cat, he just stopped making movies. I don't know what happened with him. He's still alive too. He's like 75 years old, but he just stopped making movies, which is a goddamn shame. Because the stuff I've seen of this man's work is utterly brilliant. Filmmakers would kill to have this kind of stuff. He's done some Yakuza movies, or some Triad movies, some stuff like that. Like, he was kind of like a jack of all trades, if you will. So we will definitely be deep diving, because right as the pandemic was happening, I'm like, we're going to be locked down probably for a while. I got a ton of movies. I got nothing but time. So I found a bunch of distributors that sold, DVDs of this, because the Hong Kong stuff is in a weird gray area, and a lot of the stuff was not available online, nor is it available like commercially. So they got some. I picked up some very clean copies of some of his works, and I've been going through them, and like, this guy's the real deal. Like, he is a fantastic filmmaker, and I cannot wait for Arian to discover the wonders and joys that I have discovered. That's the key to this show. We want to turn you people on to stuff you may have not seen before. And this is a movie that I have been trumpeting for years. I keep telling them, have you seen this? They're like, no, I don't even know what it is. I'm like, you have not begun to understand in just pure cinema until you've watched this movie. Like Ricky O is a fantastic one. I love Ricky O. But Ricky O, I mean, it's based on manga, and it's so cartoonish and it's so over the top. Everyone knows that it's like a good midnight movie that a lot of places would play. Some of this stuff surpasses that. I would argue that Seventh Curse arguably is a better movie than Ricky O.
I will agree with you.
Entertainment value.
I will agree with you.
Yes. So, I mean, it gives you it is a buffet movie. It gives you everything. It's got kung fu. It's got monsters. It's got gore. It's got romance. It's got TNA. It has everything. This was a movie. I dare to say it'd be hard pressed to find a woman that would find this movie anywhere entertaining, but you show it to any dude and they're gonna love it. So, The Seventh Curse, everyone. As Arian said, it is shockingly like easy to find, but again, it still confounds me that more people have not seen this. So, again, just absolute joy, and the fact seeing a young, I think this was like Chow Yun-Fat's like third or fourth film. Like this was like an early role for him. Like this was like it's like of him giving his prowess like out there. So do everything you can in your power to seek this thing out, because it is pure cinema. So
it is my new favorite movie, and I'm positive it will be your new favorite movie. So please.
We hope you enjoyed.
Yes.
We hope you enjoyed that. Arian, do you have a list in front of you? What we're going to do next? Give people a little tease.
Well, in March, a little movie called Shin Kamen Rider is going to come out, and that was directed by a man called Hideaki Anno. His name is Hideaki Anno. But before he did Shin Kamen Rider, he did a little movie called Cutie Honey. And Cutie Honey is based on a manga and an anime in the 70s by Shotaro Shinomori, who is also a creator,
No.
who is no.
It's Go Nagai.
What? God,
I think you're getting your Kamen Rider and your Cutie Honey mixed up.
I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. It was made by Go
Yep,
Nagai.
you got. No, yes, it's Go Nagai did Cutie Honey. Ishimori did Kamen Rider. So
That's right.
That's a Freudian slip. It's okay. So
And,
yes, the Great Master Go Nagai. So that will be the next movie. We're in.
Hideaki Anno's Cutie Honey is one of his first movies that he did on his own.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, now's a good time to go see it, so you can follow us while we watch it. Until then.
So that will wrap up this episode of Kamen Kaizers. As always, you can follow us online at the Kaiju Kingdom Podcast on Facebook, on Twitter at the Kaiju Kingdom, and on Instagram as well. If you found the show, hopefully you found it we are under the Kaiju Kingdom podcast feed. So if you're hearing this show and you haven't checked out the show, please, we just put up a new episode. We're back for our 10th year on that show. Hopefully we'll be going as long on this one. I know, it's been 10 years already. Where has time gone? So, and with that, we will end this episode. So for myself and
Arian, let me leave you guys with this. If there's anything that you take away from this episode, it is that everyone you know knows Kung Fu. Everyone. You don't know yet.